Save me, brother Han. His schoolmates started to beg Han Sen. Han Sen was a bit upset. He was not sure if the guy was crazy. They were in a military academy, and the students should be completely safe. The students named Wang Dai was also in the senior year. He was top 3 in martial arts department, and rather well known on campus. With his good looks, the guy had a bright future ahead of him. However, since Wang Dai started to go to Gladiator, everything has changed. In order to enter the VIP section, Wang Dai needed to pay a large amount of membership fee. Since he was from a wealthy family and had earned quite some money in God's sanctuary himself, Wang Dai paid the membership fee and entered the VIP section. In an ordinary game, there was only winning and losing. However, in the VIP section, a large sum of money must be submitted before the game started as the stake. He had met both strong and weak opponents and earned some money. Later on, he became more and more obsessed. Not only had he lost all his money, he had owed the system a huge debt. He had also signed some deadly contracts. At this point, Wang Dai had owed so much money that it was impossible that he could give it back. In 2 days, staff of Gladiator would take Wang Dai to take part in a life and death battle. Although Wang Dai was just a student, because of the contracts he had signed, Gladiator was allowed to take him away. Brother, wait, I could pay you. Wang Dai quickly pulled Han Sen's sleeve and exclaimed in terror. I know you don't have any money left, and even if you do, money cannot buy human life, said Han Sen calmly. No, brother, although I don't have money left, I could give you sacred blood beast souls, said Wang Dai in a trembling voice, unwilling to let go of Han Sen's arm. Sacred blood beast souls could not be traded for a human life. Brother, I have a sacred blood beast soul add-on. Han Sen wanted to say no, but hesitated when hearing sacred blood beast soul add-on. All the add-ons he had witnessed were extremely strong, like King Xuan's water spirit and Yufeng's time curse. Little brother, you must be calling me for some favor, Huangfu Pinking said, smiling. Sister, you are so insightful and intelligent to be able to tell this. You are definitely the best candidate to inherit Ares Martial Hall. Just tell me what you want. You're no good at flattering. Huangfu Pinking grinned, her face glowing like a blooming flower. Sister, then I'll be straightforward. Can you tell me a thing or two about the VIP section of Gladiator? Asked Han Sen. You went to the VIP section. Huangfu Pinking suddenly became mad. Didn't I warn you against it repeatedly? Not me, but one of my schoolmates. Han Sen told Huangfu Pinking everything about Wang Dai. Consider this person dead already. Don't get in the middle of this. How so? If he wins the battle, his debt would go away, right? Han Sen continued to ask. You think those perverts would let him win? Huangfu Pinking curled her lips and said, all I could tell you is that whoever goes there is a Toro waiting to be slaughtered. Less than 1% could survive. If I'm willing to spend some money, will it be possible to get him out? Han Sen thought about it and asked. He'd rather not see Wang Dai die. You think a snake is going to give up on its prey? Huangfu Pinking said grimly. This is not your business. We can do nothing about. What if I fight on behalf of him? Han Sen asked tentatively. He did not want to let go of the sacred blood beast soul add-on, which was almost impossible to find on the market, and would be a great help in hunting super creatures. You know him very well. Huangfu Pinking gazed at Han Sen. Not really. Han Sen told Huangfu Pinking about Wang Dai's proposal to hire Han Sen with the beast souls. You didn't agree yet, right? Huangfu Pinking asked with her brows knitted. Not yet, but I really want that beast soul add-on. If you go there, it is impossible that he would survive. To be honest with you, the people Wang Dai will be facing there are actually evolvers. It is the same if you go on his behalf. Do you think you stand any chance? This is fraud, said Han Sen, frowning. It is. And what can you do about it? Those people are so powerful that neither of us could afford to mess with them. Just give up the idea, said Huangfu Pinking. If the opponent is someone who has just evolved, maybe I could win, he said calmly. Han Sen received the video shortly. He clicked play and saw 2 guys fighting in a ring. One guy was as strong as a tower. He was at least 8 feet tall. The extremely muscular body made him look like Iron Man himself. The beast's soul weapon used by his opponent only left a shallow mark on his skin. The muscular man then lifted his opponent up and easily ripped the poor guy apart like tearing apart a chicken. Blood rained like crazy. Audience outside the ring were cheering excitedly, shouting and hitting the fence. Then the video was followed by another one. The protagonist was still the extremely muscular man. His opponent was beheaded immediately this time. Who is this person? Han Sen turned off the video and asked Huangfu Pinking. It is not important who he is. The key is that if you entered the life and death battle, he is very likely to be your opponent, said Huangfu Pinking. In fact, Huangfu Pinking was exaggerating a little bit. The perverts enjoyed watching a bloody and slow kill instead of a sequel, which would be way less fun. Therefore, when they sought an opponent for the unevolved, they would prefer to choose an evolver without all his geno points maxed out. This way, the unevolved would still have some chance to struggle. However, the man in the video that Hyunfu Pinking showed Han Sen was a top evolver, famous for his cruelty, hence popular among the perverts. The man was not for every unevolved person. The reason Hyunfu Pinking said that was to dissuade Han Sen from risking his life. Can you make sure that he will be my opponent if I enter the battle? Han Sen asked seriously. Of course, said Hyunfu Pinking resolutely. She did not want Han Sen to take any chance. Okay then, I have decided that I will enter the battle on behalf of Wang Dai. Han Sen's calm words made Hyunfu Pinking feel dumbstruck and speechless. Hyunfu Pinking did not know what was wrong with Han Sen to make such a decision. Although that man just evolved 1 or 2 years ago and thus had a low count of geno points among evolvers, his fitness index should still be around 40, which was way beyond any unevolved person. Attacks from an unevolved person were basically useless on that man. In addition, the man had practiced a hyper-geno art called Iron Jacket, which could change the structure of one's body cells. The user would have incredible defense and could not even be hurt by a weapon. Han Sen would stand no chance facing this guy. Why? Give me a reason, said Hyunfu Pinking, a bit annoyed. Because I can defeat him, Han Sen said calmly. This man was strong, and even as strong as the turtle. However, one thing the guy was lacking was his speed. More importantly, Han Sen was not the same person he used to be. He had gained enough strength and even a super beast soul dagger from the cursed wolf. After seeing the videos of the man, Han Sen was certain that he could defeat this person. In fact, Han Sen with his new dagger was the man's worst enemy. The man had strong fitness but low speed, which made him Han Sen's favorite target. Sister, please arrange for that evolver to be my opponent, said Han Sen. Okay, Hyunfu Pinking agreed. She sighed and said, I hope that Ningyu is not there. To be honest, although Ningyu is a gentle person, I always feel uneasy around him. I would rather be around Son of Heaven who has a terrible temper. Hyunfu Pinking arrived at the VIP section and saw Ningyu there. It was impossible for her to avoid Ningyu at this point. Brother, Hyunfu Pinking called. Every time she saw Ningyu, she would feel nervous. Although Ningyu was the gentle person, the sight of him always sent a chill down her spine since she was little. Therefore, Hyunfu Pinking was oddly closer to Son of Heaven who was cranky and arrogant. Hyunfu Pinking could not even explain why herself. Brother, I have a favor to ask. Pinking, anything for you if it's not against the rules, Ningyu said with a smile. After saying that, Ningyu could no longer hold back coughing. His face looked even more pale. Brother, are you getting better these days? Hyunfu Pinking couldn't help feeling worried. Doesn't matter, I've gotten used to it, Ningyu smiled and said. What is the favor? Brother, someone I know is brought to the VIP section. Hyunfu Pinking said hurriedly. Pinking, you should know that some rules could not be broken. Ningyu said and coughed. Brother, I am not asking you to let him go, but to make Tai Kwang his opponent. Hyunfu Pinking gritted her teeth and said. Although she did not believe it was a good idea, she had to respect Han Sen's will. He is your enemy. Ningyu looked at Hyunfu Pinking in surprise. No. Hyunfu Pinking quickly shook her head. Is he an evolver? No. Ningyu looked interested. Interesting. What is his name? Han Sen. Brother, can you do it? As long as no rules are broken. Whatever you want. Ningyu smiled at Hyunfu Pinking with doting gaze. So, it's a yes. Hyunfu Pinking became overjoyed. Ningyu nodded, the corner of his lips twitching under the handkerchief. The VIP section was where the dark side of human nature was let loose. The space was filled with audience, with the ring washed repeatedly by blood in the center. No one could see the faces of the audience. Although one can also watch the live broadcast with membership via Skynet, many people still preferred the true experience and the taste of blood. The name Tai Kwang was famous in the VIP section. It was not because he was truly strong. Among revolvers, Tai Kwang was still a rookie with good potentials at best. However, in the VIP section, for the unevolved were unable to pay their debt, Tai Kwang was a nightmare. Satan was the nickname that people gave Tai Kwang after watching his fight. The cruelty Tai Kwang showed in the battles had earned him the nickname. In the past battles, none of Tai Kwang's opponents had an intact body. They were either ripped apart or torn off the heads. Whenever something like that happened, the audience would become fanatic. Cheers would fill the entire space. It did not matter who Tai Kwang's opponent was. What everyone wanted to see was the cruelty of the Satan. I will tear your head off. When Tai Kwang was standing on the ring again, he pointed at his opponent and shouted out his favorite line. All the audience started to cheer for the upcoming blood and death. In fact, compared to Taekwang, the audience were the real devils. In a room above the ring, Ningyu was drinking a cup of wine as red as blood on the couch, overlooking the ring with his smiling eyes. Hansen, he should be that person brother used to hate. Ass Freak, head of the Steel Armor Special Squad, and an unevolved person. Interesting. Ningyu watched Hansen walking to the ring with a mysterious smile. Looking at Taekwang was roaring like a monster. Hansen was extremely calm. Either the excited cheers or the fierce movements of Taekwang could not affect Hansen at all. No matter how fierce Taekwang was, he was still weaker than the Golden Growler. Hansen would not feel pressure just because Taekwang was taller. There were too many large creatures in God's sanctuary. Hansen shapeshifted into the Fairy Queen and was suddenly crowned with a ruby crown. Holding the dagger of the cursed wolf, Hansen watched Taekwang, who was trying to provoke him quietly. Although Taekwang had seen the beast soul summoned by Hansen, he did not mean to use a beast soul himself. With his fitness level, he did not need to use any beast soul to abuse an unevolved person. The crazy audience also enjoyed seeing him tearing his opponents apart with bare hands. Taekwang himself also loved that feeling. The moment when the laser curtain disappeared, Taekwang quickly walked to Hansen with a cruel smile, his fingers apart. Taekwang almost did not try to defend himself at all, because he did not think it was necessary. The Hyper-Geno art, iron armor, that he practiced would protect him against any sacred blood weapons from First God's sanctuary. Even a strong unevolved person could only leave a scratch on his body using a sacred blood weapon. The scratch would only make Taekwang more excited. Watching Taekwang approaching Hansen, Hyunfu Pinking couldn't help feeling nervous, her palms sweating. Although Hansen had repeatedly confirmed that he could beat Taekwang, Hyunfu Pinking still felt it was not realistic. Taekwang evolved with his sacred Geno points maxed out. An unevolved person was simply too much weaker than him. Watching Taekwang getting closer to Hansen with his fingers apart, they shouted in madness. Rip the bastard apart. Kill him. Rip his head off. F&K his ass. It was like a scene in the hell. Thousands of devils were shouting with desire. In the eyes of Hansen, who had shapeshifted into the Fairy Queen, Taekwang was not fast at all. The moment when Taekwang was about to grab Hansen's shoulders, Hansen used Heresy Mantra to make his heart thump. Blood started to pump from his heart and his body became tense. Boom. Using Spartacle, Hansen's foot became a blur. A black thing flashed at Taekwang's neck and Hansen had already come to the back of his opponent. Rat, although you have some tricks, my flesh is like iron and your crappy daggers could not even shave for me. Taekwang turned around and roared at Hansen. Is that true? Hansen looked at Taekwang with a blank face. When Taekwang was about to say something, he could only make a sound like a blocked pipe. His neck broke and blood sprayed out. The audience became silent. The cruel look had disappeared on Taekwang's face. The evolver was terrified and shocked, trying to cover his injury with his hand. However, the injury was too deep and wide. No matter how Taekwang tried to stop the bleeding, it simply did not work. Momentarily, the evolver fell to the ground and started to twitch. After a brief silence, the audience cheered and roared even louder. Hansen took back the beast souls and walked down the ring, also surprised about the sharpness of the dagger, which easily slit the throat of an evolver like Taekwang, who had practiced a defensive Hyper-Geno art for evolvers. The weapon was so sharp that it was cutting iron like butter. Hyunfu Pinking looked at Hansen, who had left incredulously, unable to believe what had happened. Interesting. Bring him to me. Hansen was brought to a room and saw Ningyu smiling and Hyunfu Pinking standing nervously next to Ningyu. Hello, my name is Ningyu. Ningyu walked to Hansen and reached out his right hand, looking harmless. Hansen shook Ningyu's hand. The vibe he got from Ningyu was different from what Hyunfu Pinking had described. Hansen could not tell what kind of vibe it was. He did not feel uneasy around Ningyu like Hyunfu Pinking. Instead, he felt Ningyu was like a poppy flower, making people tremble but couldn't help feeling attracted. He received an invite from Ningyu to join a hunting campaign organized by Starry Group. Initially, Hansen wanted to reject, but Ningyu offered him something that Hansen could not say no to. Starry Group could help Hanyan get admitted to a posh school right away before Hansen became an aristocrat. Hansen's original plan was to become a sacred blood aristocrat before he served in the military, which would allow him to send his sister to a posh school in time. However, Hansen was trying to evolve with his Super Geno points maxed out. This way, he was not sure if he could still make it. He had tried everything he could and used some connections, but nothing worked. Ningyu's proposal made it impossible for Hansen to turn him down. At the same time, Hansen felt more guarded against Ningyu, who is definitely a manipulative person. He knew what it was that Han Sen wanted and offered it to Han Sen, making it impossible for Han Sen to say no to him. Ning Yu, if you're trying to kill a super creature with the dagger, it will also be a great opportunity for me. Even without your offer, I would still have said yes, so your calculation is wasted. Han Sen accepted Ning Yu's offer and felt expectant. If Ning Yu was trying to kill a super creature and Han Sen had the only weapon that could possibly kill a super creature in First God's Sanctuary, it would be hard to say who the winner would be. Han Sen signed an agreement with Ning Yu. Starry Group would get Han Yan admitted first, and Han Sen needed to go to the Faith Shelter South to steal Armor Shelter to join the staff of Starry Group. To Han Sen's surprise, Ning Yu asked the staff to take the 2 sacred blood beast souls that Han Sen earned from Wang Dai to Faith Shelter as well. In addition, Ning Yu had also summoned a few strong fighters of Starry Group located near Faith Shelter to join them. Because Ning Yu himself was too far away from Faith Shelter, he would not join the campaign himself. The leader was someone with his sacred Geno points maxed out named Yang Cheng. In addition to Yang Cheng, there were 2 more people with their sacred Geno points maxed out. The others had a high sacred Geno point count as well. There were 8 in total including Han Sen, making Han Sen feel amazed by the power of Starry Group. Yang Cheng did not tell Han Sen where they were going or what their target was. Han Sen did not ask either but followed the group into the mountains. It seemed that Yang Cheng and the rest did not like Han Sen very much, which Han Sen could understand. After all, he was not in Starry Group. To seek help from an outsider must be shameful in their eyes. Han Sen did not mind that. He was not interested in his companions at all. All he could think about was the beast soul add-on he got from Wang Dai. We will enter the primeval forest soon. Be careful not to be stung by the poisonous bugs. Their poison is still largely incurable. Before entering the primeval forest, Yang Cheng said to Han Sen. It was not because Yang Cheng liked Han Sen, but because Ning Yu had told Yang to guarantee Han Sen's safety, as long as Han Sen still had the beast soul dagger. That was why the rest of the group did not feel good about Han Sen. They thought Han Sen was just a lucky guy who had gained a strong beast soul. In less than 2 days, the group reached a huge mountain. Everyone's face became grim and they all looked to Han Sen. Mr. Han, our target is in the mountain, but it is not an easy target. Just stay here and we will draw it out. Find an opportunity to hurt it. Remember, safety first. We are about to see the creature. I'm sure you can tell me what kind of creature it is now, Han Sen said to Zhu Ting. Zhu Ting smiled and said, it doesn't matter what you know. All you need to do is to stab it, and the rest is none of your concerns. The creature will not stay still for me to stab it, will it? Han Sen frowned and said, it more or less will, said Zhu Ting casually. In a couple of hours, Han Sen saw the group coming down from the mountain. They were very slow and constantly pausing, because they were too far away, and Han Sen's sight was blocked by trees. He could not tell what they were doing. Han Sen walked to the side, wanting to see more clearly, while Zhu Ting pulled him and said, stop it. Hide right here and wait for Yang Cheng to draw it here. This creature has very strong eyesight. If it sees you, everything will be ruined. Han Sen felt even more curious. He wondered what kind of creature it must be. There was no way for Han Sen to tell, so he had to wait. The group gradually approached them. A while later, Han Sen saw the creature following them, which made Han Sen dumbstruck. It was a giant snail the size of a car. Its shell was translucent like a piece of jade, and its meat under the shell was red like fire. Its 2 eyes were as big as the headlights of a car. The snail was chasing the rest of the group, but its speed was not great. Although it was much faster than a real snail, it was about as fast as an ordinary adult. There was no way it could catch up with the guys. Standing in different directions, Yang Cheng and his team members were shooting arrows and throwing daggers at the giant snail, trying to keep the creature at a distance from themselves. However, all the weapons were basically useless on either the shell or the meat. An arrow hit the shell of the snail and broke into pieces. Luckily, the arrow was a Z-steel weapon. If it were a beast soul, its owner would be crying by now. The weapons that hit the red meat bounced back like they had hit rubber. The speed that they bounced back was even higher than when they hit the turtle. Although the giant snail seemed very strong, it seemed pointless to be careful. Han Sen wondered why the guys would draw it over instead of asking Han Sen to go over and stab it. Although Han Sen felt confused, he knew that the group were doing it for some reason. Therefore, Han Sen was waiting patiently. Stay still. Wait for them to draw the creature by the boulder. Take the chance to stab it once. Remember, be fast. After the stab, whether you have heard it or not, retreat immediately. As the snail approached the boulder, Han Sen summoned the cursed wolf dagger and leaned against the boulder, waiting for the snail to pass by. Zhu Ting also held his breath and leaned against the boulder. Shortly, the giant snail was led to the boulder. When it passed by, Yang Cheng whistled, which was their agreed signal. The giant snail had its back facing Han Sen, a piece of red meat exposed under the white shell like a skirt. The dagger immediately came at the meat. Before the dagger touched it, the snail seemed to feel something and tried to withdraw its tail. However, it was too late. The black daggers had already cut the meat and left a foot-long injury. Han Sen felt like he was cutting beef tendons. Although the meat was cut, the injury was not deep, and the snail quickly hid in the shell, leaving a pool of blood on the ground. Han Sen wielded the dagger at the shell, trying to smack it. Run! Zhu Ting became shocked and mad. Before Han Sen even made the cut, he shouted and pulled Han Sen away. Suddenly, the snail which had just hidden in the shell came out of the shell and flew toward Han Sen. Its body was red and looked like a snake with a pair of wings. It flew toward Han Sen like a red lightning bolt. Seeing the flying snake almost in his face, Han Sen quickly slashed the cursed wolf dagger at it. To Han Sen's surprise, the flying snake quickly zigzagged and dodged Han Sen's strike. Without slowing down, it threw itself at Han Sen once again. Han Sen frowned. He did not have time to think, so he used heresy mantra and quickly rolled around on the ground to move away from the flying snake. The snake did not even pause, but continued to attack Han Sen. Zhu Ting threw a bunch of Z-steel flying daggers to the snake, which did not work at all. All the flying daggers were bounced away. Yang Cheng and the rest quickly ran over and shouted, "Run! You'll be safe 300 feet away from the shell." Han Sen still did not know much about the flying snake. He no longer dared to take any risks and started to run. Han Sen did not follow a straight line. Although the flying snake was chasing after him in the sky, Han Sen's route made it impossible for it to attack. Eventually, Han Sen made it 300 feet away from the shell. Like the group had said, once Han Sen got there, the snake stopped chasing after Han Sen. Yang Cheng and the rest let out a sigh of relief and took Han Sen away from the mountain. "What happened? Didn't I tell you to run after the strike? You almost got us killed," Zhu Ting shouted at Han Sen, pointing at his nose, after they reached a safe place. "Sorry, I just want to try if I can cut the shell open," said Han Sen apologetically. Although Han Sen did not believe the snake could kill him, he did go against the plan, which was his fault. "Well, you think too much of yourself. It's good enough that you can hurt its body." "The shell," said Zhu Ting satirically. Zhu Ting did not think there was a single weapon in First God's sanctuary that could scratch the shell. "That's enough. It's good that nothing has happened." Yang Cheng stopped Zhu Ting and said to the rest, "Our mission is completed. We'll take a rest and prepare to go back to the shelter. You are not going to kill the creature." Han Sen was dazed. He did not expect the group would go back like this. "Kill? You think you can kill the creature with just a sharp dagger? Such a naive boy," Zhu Ting snorted. Yang Cheng gave Zhu Ting a stare to stop him and then said to Han Sen, "Mr. Han, you have seen that we do not have the ability to kill the creature, so we'll have to wait for young Master Ning Yu to organize another campaign to kill it." Han Sen suddenly understood that Ning Yu only asked him to come to test whether his daggers could hurt the creature instead of killing it. Ning Yu himself was probably traveling to Faith Shelter at the moment to organize another campaign to kill the creature. Han Sen did not say another thing and followed the group back. At this point, he was sure that the giant snail must also be a super creature. It seems that the Nings do know something about super creatures. Otherwise, why would they have spent so much time and effort to look for a nest and killed this creature? Obviously, they're after something, Han Sen thought to himself. However, he was not sure whether the Nings had ever killed a super creature or gained super genes. If the answer was no, how did they know about the existence of super genes? Or was it just a speculation? Han Sen thought about it and felt it was unlikely. At mealtime, Zhu Ting hunted a mutant creature and barbecued the meat. Although Zhu Ting was a jackass, he had great cooking skills. The barbecue he made was way better than what Han Sen could make. The meat was tender and juicy, definitely top-notch. Han Sen never expected this annoying companion to have such skills. However, Yang Cheng and the rest seemed to have known about Zhu Ting's strength. Maybe they had enjoyed his barbecue several times already. The group were chatting while eating. Some even took out liquor bottles. After Han Sen took several bites, he started to feel something was fishy. The temperature of his body was rising, which was almost impossible for someone who practiced jade skin. If this happened, it meant something was wrong with his body. Very soon, Han Sen realized what the issue was. He did nothing on the way back and had been eating what he brought with him. The only thing that could go wrong was Zhu Ting's barbecue. "Ning Yu, if you try to kill me like this, then you think too little of me." Han Sen used jade skin and the coolness had turned his body back to normal. He then pretended nothing had happened and continued to eat the barbecue. After everyone had finished the barbecue, Han Sen saw that nothing was wrong with Yang Cheng and the rest. As Han Sen was hesitating whether he should pretend, he heard a thump. Quickly, Han Sen saw Yang Cheng and others fell to the ground as if they were high. They only twitched a little before they stopped moving. Zhu Ting. Han Sen looked to the only sober person besides himself in surprise. Taking my knockout drops and you haven't fallen. A strong fighter indeed, Zhu Ting said to Han Sen with a smile, looking rather surprised. Who on earth are you? Han Sen had now understood that Zhu Ting was probably a spy in Starry Group. Otherwise, he would not poison the rest of the group as well. However, Han Sen still did not know which force he belonged to. Han Sen did not expect Zhu Ting to be a spy. Someone as petty as him did not seem to be spy material. Zhu Ting paused and said, "It does not matter who I am. The key is you should know who owns you. What do you want?" Han Sen stared at Zhu Ting and asked, "Now you have two options. One is to give me the beast's soul dagger and the other is to die. I am a fair person. You can choose yourself." Zhu Ting was still smiling. "Do you take me for a moron? If I give you the dagger, I will only die faster," Han Sen sneered. "It is possible that you live after giving me the dagger, but if you do not give it to me, you will die for sure. Even if I cannot have the dagger, I will not let Ning Yu have it," said Zhu Ting. He summoned a beast soul sword and cut it at Han Sen's neck. When the blade was about to touch Han Sen's neck, Han Sen flipped his wrist and the dagger hit the sword. With a crack, Zhu Ting's sword was broken. "What the?" Zhu Ting looked at Han Sen in surprise. He obviously did not realize Han Sen had such strength after taking the knockout drops. The knockout drops he used had no scent or taste. After taking it, one would not be knocked out immediately, but after a while. The drug was a family secret, which had never failed Zhu Ting before. Zhu Ting had soaked the barbecue with the drug and watched Han Sen eating the meat. It was simply impossible that Han Sen was not affected. Han Sen did not think that much and stabbed the dagger at Zhu Ting. For someone who wanted to kill him, Han Sen would not have mercy. The strike was fast and fierce, but Zhu Ting moved in an incredible angle and dodged the dagger. Han Sen felt like he had seen this footwork somewhere before. 7 twists. "You are one of the Chens." Han Sen immediately remembered where he had seen Zhu Ting's footwork. Chen Zichen had once used the same technique. "You know about the Chens in 7 twists." Zhu Ting also seemed surprised. He did not expect Han Sen to be able to recognize his footwork. "So, you are indeed one of the Chens?" Han Sen asked. "It does not matter if that is true. You can tell me what your connection to the Chens is. If you're lucky, maybe I will spare your life," said Zhu Ting quietly. "It seems that your drug did not work on me," replied Han Sen. "Now you should think about how you can make me spare your life." Zhu Ting smiled and said, "You think it is impressive that you are not knocked out. That drug only makes you sleep. The poison I am talking about is nothing like that." Zhu Ting put his hand in front of his nose, looking enchanted. "Did you smell the fragrance? It is no perfume, but real poison. Have you heard about hypergeno art called deadly perfume? It makes the user develop genes that produce poison. Every person would have his unique poison. So even if you have also practiced deadly perfume, you cannot produce the antidote of my poison. And as far as I know, I am the only person who had survived after practicing deadly perfume, which is now a forbidden technique. I do not believe that you can drug me with a scent," said Han Sen calmly. "Initially I could not, but since you have been drugged with the knockout drops, it will bring out the deadly perfume in you." Zhu Ting smiled and said, "So, I am a dead man already?" Han Sen asked, "Can you tell me who you are?" "That is not necessarily true. Since I can produce the poison, I can also make the antidote. If you give me the beast's soul dagger, I will let you live." Zhu Ting squinted his eyes and said, "What if I do not want to give it to you?" Zhu Ting looked Han Sen up and down and suddenly chuckled. "In fact, we can also collaborate. What did Ning Yu offer you? I can offer you the same and save you from my poison. What do you think of these terms?" "I still need to ask, how am I supposed to believe you?" Han Sen said quietly. He was only trying to know as much information as he could. The poison did not have much effect on him due to jade skin. "You should know that when I used the sword on you, I was not trying to kill you. It was just a bluff," said Zhu Ting. Han Sen did not say anything. Obviously, he knew that Zhu Ting did not use real force. However, the sword was a sacred blood sword, so Han Sen still cut it in half. "Okay, I will tell you something you do not know about. In fact, I bet you have no idea what kind of creature Ning Yu was asking you to kill." Zhu Ting sighed and said, "Isn't it just a sacred blood creature?" Han Sen's heart leapt, but his face remained still. "Sacred blood creature? Maybe. At least no one knows if they are sacred blood creatures so far." Zhu Ting grinned and said, "What do you mean?" Han Sen frowned. Have you thought about why some sacred blood creatures were significantly stronger than others, like the one in the primeval forests? Even so many people with their sacred geno points maxed out could do nothing about it. We were not even on the same level with it. Don't you feel that is strange? Zhu Ting paused and said slowly, have you ever wondered that maybe there are beings beyond sacred blood creatures? Thank you for watching. Subscribe and enable notifications so you don't miss the next chapter.